Hello, my name is Nebraska Grayson, and I am an advocate of people. And by being an advocate of people, I care deeply about informing them the best that I can, which is why I think that my discussion would be best for the TEDx Lincoln's 2015 Rethink Conference. And this topic is about media hype and how it affects us every day. Many people will watch the news after work or even just be caught up on current events, but many don't realize how much of an effect the media can have on them, which is why my title, Minding the Media, A Look into Media Hype, is great for Rethink. Looking into how the media influences us, we can see that it actually takes a big part in how it affects our democratic process, how it affects election polls, and many other different things. And I personally have had a direct connection to the media. I currently do speech at Lincoln East High School, where I compete in an event called Extemporaneous Speaking. In extemporaneous speaking, over the course of time, I'm supposed to collect articles on current events. And then when I get to the tournament, I have 30 minutes to write a speech on a question that I'm given. But by looking through thousands and thousands of articles, I've realized something interesting about how biases are very apparent in even some of the most seemingly unbiased media sources. Many sources that we look at, we can think are just giving us the best information, when rather we have to look at journalism a different way, especially as the information age has come upon us. A few decades ago, we had easy access to as much information as we wanted. Especially with the internet today, anyone could call themselves a journalist, which is why we need to be careful in seeing who's a good journalist and also even discerning when good journalists are doing a bad job. We can look back to history to see how journalism has really affected our perception of different issues, such as back in the late 70s and early 80s when there was a series of child kidnappings. While of course this was a serious issue, the media made it seem like it was happening everywhere and that everyone was going to be affected by this, that you had to be careful at any time to let your child out of your sight. But currently we see that it was a big issue, but that kidnappings hadn't actually gone up. This is because the media is able to take some issue and blow it out of proportion. And that can be great in helping us see that maybe a politician is corrupt, but it can also be used in a bad way to see that something is a bigger issue when it really isn't. Of course, it can also draw our attention to crises that are happening across the world, such as Katrina, where we're able to give more help and people are able to be more helpful in the cause towards Katrina because of the fact that they saw it on their TV. The media was able to give this effect of what was happening in Katrina to us directly at home. We felt the concern and the despair that these people were going through. And the media is able to do that in a very powerful way. But journalists have confused storytelling and journalism very closely. Well, of course, it's okay for a journalist to give a little more insight and speculate. When they embellish or perhaps are too biased, it can be dangerous in presenting an issue as truth, rather than truth put through a filter. Today, we even see with the Ebola outbreak how they were able to make truth seem a little more skewed. When Ebola was only in West Africa, it was an issue definitely, but no, it did not become such a blown up issue until it reached the United States. Here, we saw on the news everywhere there were signs of flashing that Ebola was coming and we were all at risk. But while it was an issue, the media stopped covering it when it disappeared from the United States, despite the fact that death rates actually rose within West Africa. The media has the ability to make us seem more aware of an issue, and West Africa needed our help. But the media then just sustained the idea of an egotistical America where we only cared about ourselves. Which is why finally, when I talk about media hype, I want everyone to understand how they can do this better and look at the media more closely. Of course, we can't just go and protest these corporations asking them to change, because it's a whole system structure. Rather, currently we need to see how we can discern when looking at the media and what news they present to us, such as being aware of whether this news station has a left-wing or right-wing sort of bias, or even question if they're purposely bringing two different opposing ideas together just to create clash, but in a way that just causes confusion and yelling. When we have discourse in society, we need to have easy discourse, where yes, we're talking about hard issues, but that we feel comfortable with other people, and that we can really get to the heart of what's the concern. And if we're able to do that, we can change society. The media has a great impact on the democratic process and how we deal with social issues. If they're able to help us bring a better insight to these and allow for better discourse between ourselves, then we're better for it. But right now we need to look more closely into it, and hopefully if we're able to change our own minds and our own perception of the media, that eventually it will cause a system change, where journalists around the world will realize how important truth is and put it foremost. Now, I'm not calling out all journalists as bad. In fact, I myself would like to be a journalist someday and really care deeply about this topic. But what we need to see is that sometimes things can go bad, and that by keeping things in check, we can make sure that the media does a good job. The media has extra access to such as politicians and other people, which we wouldn't normally get access to. But because they have that, they need to use this power correctly so we can help ourselves. They have a duty to our citizens, to everyone around the world, so we can understand what everyone is going through and how to help them. So looking more closely at media hype, I hope to show people at TEDx Lincoln what it's really about to look at the media. And hopefully you'll accept this as a great idea too that can be shared with many people. It's the topic of my life and something that I would love to share with others. It's storytelling and combined with many issues that I care deeply about. Thank you for considering me for this application, and for hopefully that I'll get to see you later.